I'm Karolina Najdek, and I am Accessibility Associate in a Home Office. I have joined the Home Office just 3 months ago on Digital Development Career Program, and I'm the first person to be on the program from the accessibility profession. And a little bit about my background. So before I came to this profession, I worked in special education, and then I worked in a care home for individuals with learning difficulties. And now I have started doing master's degree in user experience design, and I'm still currently doing the degree. So this presentation is perspective outside in perspective of someone who has recently joined the profession completely from outside tech environment. And I just wanted to share some thoughts with you and some of my insights. So some quote from LinkedIn. So the number of job listings with accessibility in the title grew 78% in a year ending July 2021 from the previous months. So that just shows that there is more and more accessibility. There are more and more accessibility jobs advertised. But there is still a shortage of skilled accessibility professionals, and vacancies are difficult to fill. So that got me thinking, why? Why are people not entering the profession? So this is my perspective on the problem, and it is based on my experiences of someone who has recently joined. So when I was choosing what to study at uni, I didn't know that the profession existed. I didn't know it was an option. I was aware that accessible solutions existed, but more as a physical object. So I knew that ergonomic pens existed to help children with handwriting, or I knew that clocks designed for people with dementia existed, but I didn't really know much about digital accessibility, and I didn't know it was a standalone profession. And also it was not really listed on our degree on a list of possible career outcomes. So for example, UX researcher was listed as an outcome, developer was listed as an outcome, or even data architect was listed as an outcome, even though we didn't really learn about data architecture, but the accessibility was completely omitted from that list. And it's also not something that is listed on a prospects website, which is a website that university career advisors use. Routes to entry are unclear. So then when I did find out about digital accessibility, and I decided it was something for me and that I wanted to work within a field, I was advised by my university tutor that I should choose another role and then try to cross over to accessibility, that it wasn't something you could go direct into. And I felt really disappointed because I really wanted a more direct route. And another thing is that entry-level jobs are rare. So if when I did a job search, I would find a lot of vacancies for senior roles and for experienced roles, but vacancies for junior roles came up really rarely. And what I mean by entry level is that the expectation of experience is not as high, and that it would be communicated in the job description and the job title. I mean something that a recent graduate would see and think that they could apply and had a chance of getting it. Getting the right skills or qualifications. So if you want to be accessibility professional and you're coming from outside, where do you get your skills from? So if you want to become a developer or you want to become a designer, there are plenty of ways you can learn. You can do a degree at university, or you can do a bootcamp, but there is not such a thing as accessibility bootcamp. And some programs have dedicated session to accessibility. So I was lucky that my master's degree included entire module on accessibility, but many degrees don't, or they maybe have very little. So next, I wanted to talk about some common misconceptions about accessibility I have encountered that is before I started to learn about it. So before I started to learn about accessibility, a lot of my classmates assumed that accessibility was boring. They were not really looking forward to the module. Unfortunately, that has changed afterwards. So this one again, from my classmates, some of my classmates, especially from graphic design backgrounds, were worried that having to be accessible would restrict their creativity and what they are able to design. And this one is quite disappointing, really. So that was sort of an unspoken attitude of one of my tutors. So accessibility is something we do because we have to and not because we want to. And I felt on the module this tutor was doing, which was front-end development, we've missed out on many learning opportunities. And I have approached him and I've asked, could you please maybe teach us some area included in your teaching? And the reply I got is that my tutor didn't know what area was. He just told me, no, we do programming in here. But fortunately, there were some other tutors that were really, really enthusiastic. So what motivated me to enter the profession despite all of that? So it was important to me to have a profession in which I can make the difference. That was my main motivation. The other thing is that I have experienced a lot of barriers myself, so I can really empathize. And I really wanted to work when I feel like I can help others thrive. And enthusiasm of other professionals. So enthusiasm is contagious. One of our tutors was really great at making accessibility very interesting, and I owe it to him that I've picked up that interest. And it also not just about the professionals, also some of my classmates. So just being in an environment where people are enthusiastic, they want to share ideas and discuss the topic, it was just great. And having a guidance was great as well. So how did I get started? So I came across digital development career program run by the Home Office. And this is one of those rare entry-level positions. So I am the first person to be on the program for accessibility, but all in all, there are about 40 of us across different professions. So I didn't want to make entire presentation about the program, but I just wanted to share some things with you that I thought were main highlights. So it's not strictly an internship, even though we often refer to it as an internship, but the name development program communicates that you are not expected to have a lot of experience, but the word internship is equally not used in the name, which I felt avoided a lot of common stereotypes that I could have otherwise had. So for example, that it is maybe just for young people, or maybe that it will be unpaid, or maybe that all I'll be doing is making teas and coffees. Open and inclusive role requirements resulted in a diverse cohort. So example of that would be that I was asked for proof of skills and proof of interest related to accessibility rather than a specific qualification. When I looked at requirements for other jobs, when I was at that job searching stage, they often listed specific degree or specific A-level, and that would have excluded me because I was educated overseas. And I liked that my experience was taken into account, and also some self-directed learning I did. And as a result, cohort on the program is very diverse. So the alternative approach to that would be apprenticeship. And an apprenticeship, one of the advantages of apprenticeships is that learning part is taken care of externally. So what I'm talking about here is a type of an apprenticeship where you split your time between going to workplace and attending some sort of educational setting. For me personally, I don't think that would have been the right choice. I find the world of apprenticeships a little bit confusing because I know that there are different levels. I didn't know, I wouldn't know if I would be eligible because I already have a degree and I am in education, and I would have probably thought that it was just for the school leavers. So I have been here for 3 months now, so it is still early days, but I wanted to share some impressions with you. So only when I started, I fully appreciated that accessibility is such a broad and complex discipline. At the beginning, after I've done my module at university, I thought I knew quite a lot. And then I had a bit of a reality check and I have to admit, it was a little bit anxiety inducing, realizing how much there is still to learn and how nuanced everything was. So at the beginning, I needed guidance on how to go on about learning everything. And sometimes I look at our Slack channel for interns, and I see that interns share the idea and share ideas and ask for guidance on what to learn or ask for resources for their self-directed learning day. And I have a sort of an opposite problem. I have a lot of resources, but I need help knowing where to start and how to prioritize and how to best organize it all. But the program structure definitely help. So without going into too much details, I have 2 mentors. So James is my program mentor in terms of project. So sort of day-to-day work that I do. And I have a Jakub, who is my career mentor, and he is there to help me to achieve professional standard. And I also have a line manager from outside of the team. So Friday is a self-directed learning day, although in my case, it's more of a directed learning. And soon we will be starting charity project on Friday instead. So we will be divided into delivery teams of interns, and we will be given a project that we will do for a charity. So I don't know what that project is yet, but I am looking forward to it. And I have to say that the team has been really extremely helpful. They are always there to answer my questions. I have shadowed and still shadow team members, and I am slowly now starting to take on responsibilities with help. So work to be done. So work to be done to attract new people from the outside to the profession. So teach accessibility as part of other disciplines. So I was lucky to have accessibility within my degree program, but a lot of people don't learn about it at all or very little because it's not included in their degrees. Create roles that have lower bar to entry, and that would be to allow budding professionals like myself to make a start in a profession. And pass on your enthusiasm and expertise. And what I mean by that is training on the job, possibly outreach to educational settings and to other professions. So for example, at university, we have access to professional mentors from industry who give us guest talks, and we can reach out to them if we have questions. And we have professionals from BBC, from Nielsen Norman Group, from Moonpig, but there is no one in this group that is an accessibility professional. And it would have been great to maybe have a talk from somebody beforehand, just to find out more about the profession and what a day-to-day accessibility as a profession look like. And that's really it from me. Thank you for having me.